It's always sucky when you have to take off the carburetor. Well, to be honest, I didn't realize it because I had done this first. But the back of the carburetor, the PCV valve hoses was like right there, right in the middle of this guy. So I got to come up with something right in the middle of this guy. So I have to come up with something different. Unfortunately, went through all the trouble to get this, not even thinking where the lines were on the carburetor. Always something. I thought I was doing myself a favor because I found this for much cheaper on Amazon. But, I went through all this so I can just use the least amount of piping, get the power brake booster and the other vacuum hooyah, and then it would go straight into the manifold and be out of the way. And it's a great idea, but before I put the carburetor on. So it's a little frustrating. I'm not even sure now. Between, this is an Amazon manifold and aftermarket carburetor, so they don't really give a shit where these things come out. If I put a rubber block on there and move it, because it does have a threaded thing here meant for the power booster, but I'd rather the power booster come in from the manifold. But if I put a rubber thing here, it may work. But if it goes bad, you got to take off the carburetor just to freaking change it. I think that's kind of silly. So I'm not exactly sure if I go straight up. Let's see. It's not looking good. Like I said, it's not looking good. It's right on top of that. This is really frustrating. I just can't get a break. Can't get a break. Wow. I didn't realize how on top of the fitting it was. I'm curious, though, if maybe I can get some kind of 90-degree elbow on there of some sort. Sometimes you have the plastic lines that go to the PVC and a little piece of rubber here, and then the plastic elbow there, a rubber elbow. If it'll actually pass a straight nipple coming out, I'm not even sure. To be 1,000% honest, I don't know. Time to find out. So I had this rubber thing here, and it was a little bit soft, but the very end had very thick rubber on it, and it's like it almost like it acts like a plug. And if I put this back on, it actually looks like it's going to line up and actually, if anything, push against that heavy part and block off the vacuum. I mean, that's good in one sense, but I kind of wanted to use that for the PVC. I didn't want to put it on manifold vacuum. I do have this other port here, but then it requires me going around the other way. Not 100% sure what I'm doing. Had the little guy, I mean, it's like somewhat accessible. So then I'd have to buy something that fits this, which looks like a 1/4-inch pipe nipple, and then I'll be coming around to do that, unless I do that with the power brake booster, which I really didn't want to do. I wanted to keep everything in there. I guess they made this carburetor so, because believe it or not, I have power brake booster, PVC, and then I have this extra vacuum line. I can just use all these and then plug it, but I kind of like the idea of using manifold vacuum from the intake as opposed to the carburetor. Oh boy, what to do? So it's like if I put this, like I said, if I put this alone, like after I screw it in, it'll be way below. And maybe I can get the carburetor, the line to be used on the carburetor for the PCV once this is all the way down. And then, I gather then this could be used. I don't know. I guess we're going to find out. I don't know if it's the same size or not even, so that's the other thing I got to find out. Always something. So I haven't found anything yet for this line here, but as you can see from the top view, that's like really cutting it close. Like it would have to be a stark 90 degrees, and I might even have to cut it shorter in order to make that work. So the hose has got to slip on over here. So you got the hose And, you know, that takes up real estate as well. Looks like it has more than you think, but it's not on all the way. I didn't want to put it on as I just had it on. I just pulled it off because it's like really hard to pull off once you get it on. But I also don't like that the hose comes up this far, and if you don't give it any articulation, it can get a little funny. You know, it can pull. You know, I don't want to put it on the other side and come over of the AC hose. So I kind of wanted to put it, see, which means I might be putting it in this hole now, which is another set of problems. But if I can get a bushing and make it small, then I can put the 1/4 inch here, and that'll maybe give me more room for this, you know, where maybe I can just use a regular hose and not have to worry about anything 90 degrees. Really, I know like. See, and this is an aftermarket bracket, I had no choice, but usually they give you a hole there, and I hate to take it off just to drill a hole. I mean, I can go behind it too. It's not really a huge deal. I didn't even think about that at first. Looking from here, it doesn't look like you can do that. But if I did do this, let's see. Of course, now it's too short, isn't it? Or is it? I'm not too sure. My fingers are too fat. All right. Yeah, it sucks that I cut this already. But, it may be the way to go. Sorry. It may be the way to go, you know, back it around. Maybe put that guy down a little bit. But I may have to, you know, I'll use this for the PCV or something like that, because this is really not going to work. I mean, actually, if I just go on top of it like this, it should be fine. Like right now, it's over the 1/4 inch one. You know, like I suppose this could work and have the angle I need. I might actually make it smaller. I bought some kind of weird 90 degree for this thing, and it seems pretty good. But there's no breather filter then. So that's the other thing I was thinking about. But I hate the aftermarket ones where they just sit there and smoke. It kind of is, you know, where the wires are going to be. I mean, I can make it a little bit shorter then, and that could work. Something like that. That angle may not be so bad, because for the most part, it'll go over this and then behind it. It'll be higher than this and behind it, and I have to cut this a little shorter then, get the right size nipple. Interesting. All right. All the little things now are gonna start culminating. So, just to give another video, actually, or part of this video, I wired all this up yesterday. I used the internet, so I really hope this is all works out right with everything. I didn't want this to turn on the compressor directly, so I wanted a separate relay for the compressor, and I have a separate relay for the fan. So I have the ground of the switch that will control the compressor one way or the other. It'll control the compressor to turn on this, and then it'll also turn on the fan. It'll ground the fan. I have the fan grounded. I have the relay supplying ground instead of power. I'm hoping it all works. I did all the shit in my head, and I made a 3-prong connector, and then the extra ground here is just on an eye loop, and then I have the separate wire going for the compressor. I don't know. I had tons of problem with the starter. like I put the shim in that makes it not come out as far, and that seemed to help because like every 3 times I would put it on, like because I would crank it and it would get stuck, and then the relay I changed it to a different relay, and it seemed to not because then after I got it to work, I would crank it and it would stay running for like a full 2 seconds, and then it would shut off. I'm like, that's kind of weird. Shouldn't happen, But I took apart the starter, brand new starter, and like the solenoid, weight inside there, I guess you want to call it, it was like bare metal and it had rust on it, and I think it was really hung up more than anything else, more than needing a shim. I guess the shim just, it didn't allow it to get stuck in the rust as far, but then I kind of put too much grease. I know I did, but I used a Scotch-Brite pad to clean up the rust that was on this thing. I didn't film it because it was just like so much frustration that day, because it wasn't just that, it was other things. I wired a couple other things wrong, I realized. Nothing crazy. I just had to swap them around. Then I finally got the gas tank, of course. That I think I filmed. I don't know if I filmed a success, but everything worked out. I gotta get this guy mounted up there. Hello. Anyway, I'm waiting for my friend to make the piece for the heater box before this gets bolted back in. I gotta start figuring out something for the shifter. We ended up bending the shifter. I don't know if I put that in other videos, but we heated it up and bended it, which is what I wanted to do a long time ago. So I may get rid of all those, things to prop it up, because it's way away from the dashboard now. That's not going to be an issue. In fact, it probably has a better handle on everything. I have a feeling that this kind of handle that was on it, it was meant to be closer to you, like having center console, and being that there's a bench, it had to end there. So that's another thing. I had the wires came off this thing here. So he's going to make these plastic things. It's actually not very bright, and I put LEDs in here now. This one lights up bright, but this I couldn't put LED, and now we're going to order a clock that is the same brand. I don't know if it's the same, it may not be the same thing, but it's fine. It's off to the side. It just said this is a black clock. It don't work. Get a 12-volt clock, $50. I mean, you get a good used one for $25, and then a good used one is, needing to be rebuilt probably, and then, it could be $100 to rebuild it. So all in all, everything's working out pretty well. Like I said, I figured all the bugs with the wiring. I figured there'd be a couple of things, and I know the gas gauge is going to work. And what else? I just got to figure out reverse lights, and I'm gonna probably do something where I have other lights coming on as well. So I need several micro switches, but I'm going to actually use the neutral safety switch, which I had to change. For some reason, it was stuck on all the time, so I was able to start it in any gear. Now it doesn't start, in all the other gears except for park and neutral. So in park and neutral, I'm going to have them both light up at the same time, and you got to look at the shifter to see which one you're actually in. But you're in either park or neutral, so you can start it, and now it'll light up. So while you're driving, you're not going to see that, and you're not going to see it in reverse. But reverse, I want it to light up as well with the reverse lights, because it kind of slips. You don't, it's not like, it's not a high dollar item, and that's why the good shifters are like $400, $500, $700, and it's like, Jesus, it would have been almost better to leave the original linkage in. And even though you would just feel the click, so you could very easily knock it out, but you wouldn't have that hard park. Like this one has a little bit of a better hard park, but I still don't even know if that would have worked. There would have been other angles to worry about, but it's possible it could have worked. Don't know. In the end, this looks cooler. When all is said and done, when it gets closed up. What else? Yeah, and then I was thinking about putting one in for overdrive, which is the lockup, okay? And after the lockup one goes in, because that'll be when you're in overdrive and cruising, and you can feel when the overdrive is in and out, because then I'll have another one that'll just be for regular drive. So it'll be a total, because 2 lights will be from, being powered from the thing here. I ran this wire, I got this wire going here too. That's just haphazard through the firewall. But that'll give a light for neutral and park. And then, what do you call it? Then there will be the overdrive, which will be hooked up with the lockup. So if the lockup is on, you know you're in overdrive, you know? And obviously if the lockup doesn't work and doesn't light up, it's another story, you know, or it lights up and you don't feel it lock up, you know, that's another thing. But the regular drive, at least you'll know you're in either third or fourth, or, you know, you can hear by the whining of the engine and which gear you're in, but you know that you're not in overdrive. So I just like one for the drive range from D3, 2, and 1, and then the overdrive is only going to be where the lockup is, and that way you know that at least you're in overdrive. You know, so I think that's pretty cool if I can make it work. But it's a lot of micro switches on that thing to make working. But I'm going to try. So we'll see.
All of you that don't have a clue what's going on, I'm going to explain something to you. And I hope and pray that you listen. 2017, Trump's inauguration speech is where it all starts. He came out and said, "Today we are not transferring power from one administration to the next, or from one party to the next, but we are transferring power from Washington, D.C., and giving it back to you, a lot of people." What he did that day, a lot of people don't understand. He eliminated the entire act of 1871 right there. He had military intelligence on one side of him. They monitor everything, they record everything, emails, text messages, phone calls, etc. He had military tribunal judges on the other side. And he told you, for too long, a small group of people have reaped the rewards of government while the people have bore the cost. And he said that stops here, that stops now, that stops today. Right after that, he did an executive order, 13903. The 13903 one was arrest all involved in human trafficking worldwide, seize any and all property of anybody involved in human trafficking worldwide. That took out all your royal families, all of your government officials right fucking there. It took out presidents through other countries, ex-presidents, actors, rappers, country singers, etc. Okay? Then, Executive Order 13818 was put in place to protect we, the people. Inside of that, it tells you property blocked for human rights abuse and corruption. The corruption part's easy. All your federal, state, city, county, local laws, all your state statutes, all of your fucking gun laws, including background checks for guns, don't exist. And they haven't since 2017. The human rights abuse part is this. Go to look up Universal Human Rights Declaration Act, Articles 1 through 30, and it tells you right there, you were born free to live free. You were never supposed to be charged anything to live freely. In other words, you were not supposed to pay your rent, your mortgage, your loans, your credit cards. You're not supposed to pay for any damn thing. That is backed up by Abraham Lincoln's executive order, the promissory note. A lot of you guys don't understand that. Okay. In 2020, COVID happened. Okay, COVID, it doesn't exist. It was the vaccine that people ran to the hospital to get. Okay, that vaccine was a bioweapon. It was made to kill people. You'll find that out. However, Trump's warp speed stopped them from actually putting a lot of black and poison in that shit. You'll find that out. Moving on. A lot of people don't understand. On November 2nd, 2020, Trump signed the Proclamation Act of 1776, bringing us back to constitutional law only. He already gave us the power back, made us a sovereign country. Okay, now, moving on. July 4th, 2020, he did a second Declaration of Independence, nobody knew about. You'll find that out. Moving on. December 9th, a lot of people don't know this. He signed the Insurrection Act because the government was trying to steal the country back from we the people by stealth. We thought there was supposed to be an election. No, nobody caught on to what he said in 2017. Once he gave power back to we the people, there is no fucking election. There was no more government right there. Gone. The Act of 1871. Bankrupt, dissolved, gone. Bye. Get over it, okay? Because now you're seeing a bunch of federal, state, cops, all kinds of people that are in power and control over we the people being arrested on federal indictments. It's going to get worse. They came out and said that all law enforcement officials will be arrested for operating illegally in the United States Republic. All attorneys will be arrested also because they are a British accreditation registry. It is a foreign organization operating illegally in the United States. Now, everybody thought Trump left in 2021. Okay, no. You need to go look up Executive Order 13961. It was never a transfer of power. It was a continuation of government handing full authority and power over to the United States military through the Insurrection Act on January 9th of 2021. On January 11th of 2021, Trump signed an Emergency Declaration Act for D.C., resulting from the problems with the 59th presidential inauguration. They faked an inauguration so that it would never cause a civil unrest. He stepped to the side and shined the spotlight on your real criminals, which was your government. Now, it makes their job a lot easier because people understand that the government was so fucking corrupt, they were so fucking sick, ripping people's faces off, all for a thing called adrenochrome. Human trafficking children through fucking federal court systems. Yeah, your judges are fucked. Every single attorney has been enforcing illegal unconstitutional laws since 2017. However, we've been common law since January 17th, 1963. Problem is the government never wanted to uphold that law because they knew if they did, they would lose power and control over we the people, and they would not ever have any control over us. We don't need a government to babysit us. We can govern ourselves. We don't need to be enslaved by landlords, corporation, company, organization owners that are enforcing federal, state, city, county, local laws, policies, company policies. Okay, all that shit is gone. Eviction notice is gone. Okay, March 4th is gonna be anything but normal. That's all I can tell you. Okay, I'm not at liberty to tell you what's fixing to happen, but there's a reason they're giving you guys the $5,000. My suggestion to you is this. Do not spend it on any bills. You need to buy food, water, supplies for at least 3 weeks. You better take me at my word. I'm dead serious. Your government is being dismantled, little by little right now. And they have been for a long time, actually. It's called the devolution plan. 90% of your government is gone, but you still have corrupt attorneys out here. You still have landlords. You still have company, corporation, and organization owners that are still enforcing laws that don't exist. And those people are the ones who violated that Presidential Executive Order 13818, which, by the way, it has been extended 4 times. Inside of it, it tells you property blocked for personal and private gain. If you think you've seen anything yet, trust me, you haven't seen nothing yet. When Trump said worldwide military leaders in that room with him, and this is the calm before the storm, you better understand what he said. A lot of people don't know that there is a secret weapon that they have. It's not a regular weapon like what you think. It is an actual court case done by United States Supreme Court, the highest court in the land. You don't get any higher than that. And when Trump said that we are the law and order, and that everything will go by the law of the land, that is exactly what he meant. Take my word for it, folks. Don't spend that shit on your bills.
So I've taken this carburetor on and off about 5 times, and no matter what I do, I've tried the bigger one here and everything. Whatever I put interferes with this, and the only thing I'm thinking now is a nipple to come straight out. It's fucking $10 for a freaking nipple, for crying out loud, and $9, but it's still it's crazy, you know. Like I'm not even sure at that point because it's really right on top of it. It's hard to say, you know. It's so hard to say, but I said okay. I can put this rubber thing here, but then I'm like, oh shit, now this thing totally blocks this. You know? Mind-blowing. Freaking mind-blowing. I honestly don't believe this. I found this 90 degree, and I'm like, okay, that'll be perfect, because I'll angle it up and away, you know, this way, and I start screwing it in, and then it hits the bottom. This is mind-blowing. And you see, it was going to be not as far. This would have just touched it, which was fine, but this... It's like, it's like if I grind the bottom of this, I mean, if I add a ton of tape, maybe, you know, but even then, it's like, I don't know if there's some kind of extension I can get, but it can't be much because in the end, it can't go past that for the most part. I'm lost for words right now. Okay, I grinded a tiny bit of the brass. I mean, it really wasn't that much. I don't even know how much of an impact it made. Come on. But I basically just forced it. I forced it against the edge here, and it went through, and I didn't want to go another turn, but it's pretty much plenty tight. I mean, I can't really move it. You know, I put a lot of Teflon tape too, but it's good enough. And vacuum is always sucking in, so it's technically supposed to hold it. You know, I mean, the only thing is when you start pulling on the hose, you can maybe unscrew it, but it's still on the hard side to do that. So I think I'm going to make it now, and it's a lot closer than I thought, but it should make it. So hopefully this all works out. All right, so it's touching less than I had this actually at a slight angle before, so it's just barely grazing it. But I still think that would, even if it broke, the fact that it's like right in front of it, it would kind of block it. And now I got a clear path here to go over here for the PCV valve. Happy about that. I wrapped this guy up in, I put a wire loom on the wire that I have spliced with the choke here. I'm wondering if I could have made this smaller, but, you know, it is what it is. It ain't gonna hurt. Alrighty. Alright. So that guy kind of hangs out a little on the long side, but that's fine. Never know what happens in the future. And I don't think I'm going to bother with any wire loom on the HEI wire. It's not really necessary. The whole thing, it's got plenty of room, and it's wire loomed up to a certain point. Nice to see the wire, of course. So now I'm just going to bolt the carburetor back on, and I put one of the adapters I bought, which I ended up finding an adapter. So like all this I could have done yesterday. I literally have all the parts. Like I had this, and I had one. I just didn't see it in the thing. So I ended up buying a package of 10 from Amazon. Got it overnight. Along with a bunch of other stuff that I bought from them. You know, like extra stuff that I don't need, which has been this whole project of me, like basically losing money. Not necessarily losing money, but it's like I'm replenishing stock in exchange of, you know, testing different theories on this setup, you know. Kind of crazy how that is, and this is why guys charge like a lot of money to do this kind of work. So it is what it is. And putting the nuts on here, I'll be tightening them down, and I'll have to get more new 1/4-inch line because this is all old stuff. It's all dry rotted on the inside as well. So looking good though, I must say. I'm very happy now that I finally found the thing. It was a matter of getting this guy on at this point, and I got everything where I want it to go. You know, I really didn't want. I mean, listen, there's always a chance you backfire up through the vacuum lines and stuff like that. You just don't want to contaminate the vacuum system. What do you call it? So I don't like to put the carburetor directly on the power brake booster or anything running on the inside, which in this case is the vacuum wipers. That's what this all tees off to. And I'm not sure. Oh yeah, this little guy here goes to this extra vacuum ball that somebody put in, because originally it didn't have the vacuum pump type fuel pump on the flathead. I put one in and it was working, so I'm not, you know, bothering with it too much. It's pretty soft feeling, you know, so I don't know. But the original one was this guy that I reused, but it's very little tiny nub there, and it was kind of funny going on the end. And granted, it was probably just this particular, you know, hose, but like if I put this guy on now, there's this thing, again, some of these barbed fittings, you gotta cut them off in order to get them off. So I'm not even gonna put it on all the way until I figure out what I'm gonna do. Most likely this guy looks okay. It could be shortened, and probably change all this stuff. It's very, very soft, you know, so, but looking good now. And I made an extension for this guy, this universal thing I bought. It really still didn't work, you know, because all the years when you have the 204R transmission, the cable, it's set up to be a very short run here. The ones that were all the way back here had that loop thing, and you might be able to find a cable that goes on there. Like the universal one had it, but the universal one broke on me. It cracked because, you know, this one's extra long too, but because it's so thin and pliable, it goes, does what it needs to do, and it doesn't bind, where the other one was kind of an issue, you know, and it's moving very nicely. The only thing I did, because I covered the hole, now it ends up being the way it works out, was it butted up to the other piece of metal there. And originally I wanted it on this side. I go, oh, fuck, that's right. I didn't even think about it. Maybe I could have put this on the inside and then done the same thing, but I had already put the 2 bolts on the bottom there. But this actually works out very well. And I made this bolt a little bit longer, and I put it's like permanently on here, the spring. So the spring is going to go right here. That's where it needs to go. And it's not like I had it really stretched before, you know, going back an extra inch, and I had the other spring, the secondary spring on this as well, which now I might add it to it because it's not killing it. So depends how the thing feels. And then I bent this because it still wasn't like in line, and now it is in line. So that is going to be better. Still might be off a hair when I'm looking at the spring. It's a little funny. But then this guy here will go, I bought one of those Edelbrock things that go on, that goes under the carburetor. Right there. So I'll get it on there, you know. I'm pretty sure Chevy was like that too, like with the Collider Jet, but maybe not, because it wasn't as wide. They were able to put it on the outside to make it easier. But it's, you know, it's par for the course. It's what you got to do when you have aftermarket stuff on your car. So I got to use 2 hands to get that on, but very happy. I got to tighten the fuel line back on, and the 4 carburetor bolts, and then I got to find, I know I bought one for the distributor, and then I can start doing the wires, although it's rainy today, so I don't know if I'll do it. I want to play with the shifter a little more, and so far it's looking really, really good, so very happy. Okay, I'm a genius. So I got these, I ordered a whole bunch of different micro switches because the ones I got were just not quite right, and I needed a longer arm, and then I had to cut it, and then I had to bend it. This other one here, I put this little roller style, which I don't know if you can see this because it's so sunny, but then again, if I let the sun shine on it, maybe you'll see it. Any case, so this is the power going to these switches. They're both normally closed and normally open. So what does that mean? That means that when the power is there, one of these have power, and when you go into the certain gear, it has no power. So you can hook it up either way, because the bulbs, But this is also going to be feeding power, not only to the little light I'm going to have on the dash here, because like I said, this is a kind of cheap shifter, but I think it kind of looks so cool. Now you got to keep it, because we bent it, and it gave it the right angle, gave it plenty of room with the AC and everything. And now when you put it in reverse, you got to push down a little bit if you want it a little bit easier. You got to kind of pull it up if you want to make sure it stays in reverse. So that's another thing. It can kick out of gears, kind of. I had changed the size of the roll pin and then played with this, and then I removed the bracket underneath to try to get it. There's not much I can do right now. And now that I've drilled these holes to make these things fit, I don't think I can even remove this bracket. It's just too much figuring out to do. It's a lot of different angles, and like I said, I don't see how they expected you to put this in a regular car. All the expensive ones are bolted to the tranny, and you just have a hole, and this covers up the hole, and being that it bolts to the car, if it's not a cable, there's no way you can really put it and have it in a usable place other than, like, I think it meant for a center console where you have it right on top of you. That being said, drilled a hole, put a nut, little tiny machine screw, a 440 machine screw with a nut holding it. I'll probably put Loctite on it. This one here, I drilled a hole, but it hits this. So I drilled a 1/8 hole. I'm going to drill a 1/8 hole here. And this is actually going to be a roll pin in there to hold it. And I don't think it's going anywhere. So as long as it doesn't pivot, it's fine. It's been fine. So right now that's in reverse. So that's in a park. And then when you go in reverse, the first one goes down. Doesn't go down any further, as you can see. So, so the light is on. I don't know if you can see. See? So now, let's see. Should I leave it here? Whoop! I just broke the fuse. Ah! All right, so I changed the fuse. I'm probably going to put this red one actually with the AC. I'm not sure yet. I just put a 15 amp fuse in there. It should be fine. I mean, it looks like 16 gauge. That being said, this orange one is for just the dash lights that go underneath. This is the reverse light. Yeah, the two yellow ones, those are the ones that I may play around with more. Because one is a radio and one is for wipers. And wipers are obviously important. And they're the same thickness, but they had different fuses in them. But I think the radio only had a 10 amp fuse. I'm going to put the radio one probably with this instead. Only because, like, red wire is kind of more important to me, whereas the yellow is, whatever. And there's two of them. It's kind of stupid that they did that. And I kind of don't want it to be confused with major components, so I'd rather put the yellow that was the radio fuse and put that. Because the radio fuse I'm going to put is going to go on that mini fuse panel back there. Don't know if you can see it. Yeah, there you go. So that one is going to end up having the radio, because that's actually going to be attached to the accessory position. Because the problem is when you put it in accessory, it may back power other things, so we don't want to do that. That being said, it might back power it anyway. I'm not 100% sure right now. I haven't tested that theory yet. Guys, I can do that right now. Yeah, see, look, I put it in accessory and none of the gauges come on. So if that were to come on, then other things would come on. So I did that deliberately so that he doesn't have to have the key. Because, this doesn't... I use that keys to turn on the solenoid that turns on all the major power it does not turn on the electric steering. The electric steering is direct because the little mini computer box is its own relay. So that wasn't necessary. But like anything that you add to it, you want it on the major hub that can pull 200 amps, you know. So anyway, just testing it here. So right now it's in reverse, and this was the reverse light. I don't know why I guess I guess I hit something that was, you know, exposed in the test light. I don't know. I didn't think I really. Oh, I did it. Oh, you know what? I'm hitting this. How do I just blew it again? In any case, I have it. Right now it's in reverse. So now, see, I can push it down and it clicks. Now that's neutral. It clicks again, so that means the reverse lights are off, and that still clicks. So that's not on. And then now it's drive. That's on. And these are such short throw that even on the bottom it's here, and it's actually preventing the first one from actually going anywhere. So that's like ingenious, you know. It just worked out really well, you know. So, and they don't touch here, you know, when they go. So when this one goes by itself, it doesn't touch, but when this one goes down, it kind of blocks it from moving at all. So I'm going to put a roll pin here. I got to drill a hole here still. I was just tightening it up and holding it so I knew where to go. But ultimately, I'm going to have like 5 lights. Yeah, because 2 are going to go on in park and neutral. And that's this wire here I have coming off the neutral safety switch. It's coming directly from the relay now. And this is a ground. So I'm going to put power to those lights, okay, the same power here, which I can technically put the power on one of these switches, believe it or not, because it'll be on all the time, and it'll go off when it goes in reverse, but it'll be on otherwise. No, well, yeah, and then the ground will go off the light, and that'll shut off the light for sure, you know, because it'll only go on, only have ground, those lights, when it's in park and neutral. That way he knows when to start it. And the only difference is the park and neutral are going to be 2 different lights, but they're both going to come on at the same time. So ultimately, it's just to let you know you're either in park or reverse. Hit the brake if you don't know, or slam it in park, make sure it's right, you know. And the reverse light, I have a little reverse light that will go on as well when it goes in reverse. And then the next, you know, obviously there's neutral. And then this will be all of the drive ranges, but then I'll have another one in, like, taking the place of overdrive. It can still be in overdrive, but the lockup light will go on when it's in lockup. So, and at first I was going to have it go on instantly with lockup, but sometimes you have drivability issues with it locking up too soon. So rather than doing that, it's just going to, because I have a vacuum switch, I'm going to actually hook up to it and everything. Didn't want a toggle switch, although sometimes a toggle switch is good to back it off, you know, to not use the lockup when you want to. But really, the system should work indefinitely. You know, I mean, I don't think these switches are going to fail anytime soon where he has a big problem. What else? Yeah, ultimately, I think this is all going to work out, rather well. I can't believe how good this came out, because I saw all these switches, I saw a choice, and so they had this one kit had long ones and short ones. You see, I tried doing this one, bending it a certain way, but every time I did it, because of the length, it kept banging into this. And there's other ones that have the bump out already, like this was like that one, but it was too long, and it was hitting the other one, and then, you know, I'd have to mount it all the way back here, and I don't have the room to, so that's one thing. Had some regular switches, and there was another one that had a little, what do you call it? A little bump in it, and that was also in the wrong place, which is how this original one was. It kind of looked like that. And, come on. It kind of looked like this, but I made this in this one. This one was longer, but it was too long, and it had the bump. But the bump was great, but it was too long, and then I broke it off, and now it became too short. So that's what I was basically, you know, I was feeling that I was in the same position with this one, like I wasn't going far, like it was close, but like no cigar, you know. But this is actually one I started using this one first, and then I ended up using the longer one and cutting it down a little. But And then this one here, I was trying to bend it for this one, and it wasn't working. And I'm like, that's not going to be consistent. The roller here, untouched, like unmodified, it's going to be really good. And it's crazy how it just grazes it while it's in drive and prevents that one from moving in either direction. So they don't do anything, they don't intersect with each other. So I'm going to get the 2 roll pins for this, and put them in all the way, and it shouldn't go anywhere. And because I couldn't find a tap for 440, to be honest, so I don't think it's a big deal. I don't think it really needs to be tapped per se. I guess I can go other places to see if I can find a tap, but I already drilled a 1/8 hole in there, so I don't know what that tap would be. It's looking like I already surpassed it, and I don't think there's much room for anything past this 440 boat. It may not even be 440. It may be 348. Maybe I could put a 440 in there, tap to 1/8, but I just assume hammer in a roll pin, which when I put the drill bit, it's very tight in there. And even with this, it works fine. It doesn't move an inch, because it just and this is loose, so it maintains the tightness, maintains it here. And this just, because if it moves it back and forth, that was my only problem with not having one in, is that it was, if I had it set up wrong, like this one only touches the thing, so it hasn't moved even with one wire, There's other things you can do. You can maybe take off this nut and put like a little shelf on here so it doesn't, like something behind a piece of metal, you bend it over so it doesn't go any further. There's a lot of things you can do to try to make it hold. It's not so pretty, but he's going to make like some kind of center console for it so I can install the lights, but maybe put a couple of cups over here, something along those lines, or a cup, so pretty cool, I must say. Okay, here we have another dolphin gauge. The neat, type of replacement. It actually fits in there just good enough. It's like it could be maybe slightly smaller, but because of the taper there and the taper there, it ain't going nowhere. What I did have to do, and I made my little connector here, this 3-pin connector, because you got 2 hot leads, one with the, when the headlights go on, and the power source, and then the ground, so I'm going to hook all that up on the other piece, and I put the connector here because I didn't want somebody trying to pull from the back end, although it should be able to take it just fine. So either you can get your hand in there and get it unplugged, but I figure that if the only reason why you'd be removing this is to pull it out, because I have it set up that you could actually change the light just fine. It came with the little plugs, and they gave you the plugs to put on the other side. All worked out very nicely. What I did with this part here, I'll show you, because you see the original one had these wings mounted, so it kind of gets in. It would be nicer if it was more straight in, but I went like this, and I hope it works. It would really suck if it didn't. But first of all, it can kind of go there, but I have a feeling it's going to be too deep, too far away. It may not be, But so I went a step. See, I had it here, and then I went a step in, because you could just flex these, obviously. And I think just catching the end here is all you need. It's not going anywhere. It's be pressing against itself. What I don't want it to do is ping inside. So with the bend going outwards, I can't see it bending in. I can only see it bending more out and getting itself wedged. So I don't think this is going to be a problem. So I'm curious to see how it looks. So I use a nut driver behind there, and I can see that this side, it's actually out further than I thought. But this side was noticeably out more, and I had to tighten this side more than this side. At one point, I leaned on it a certain way, and it tipped in the front. So it has to just catch perfectly around, and then you tighten the center to get it to go all the way around. So I can maybe tighten it a little bit more on this side, only because I really didn't tighten it as much. But it seems like at least on the top part there, looks kind of even now, to be honest. Am I getting the right one? Am I touching the... Yeah, I don't want to go any further. It's not going anywhere. That is a beautiful thing. this looks really cool between that and that. Ultimately, this part matches. It's just the chrome part doesn't, you know. But it's actually really close to the style of this, you know. When you think about it, it's amazing how much bigger this is. But I guess it protruded out more, but that gives the illusion that it is. And when I hook it up, I'll be able to set the time, and it'll stay like that. Pretty awesome. And this will actually work, unlike everybody else's 50s car that either costs a ton to get these done over, or it just, in the end, it's just easier to deal with when everything's 12 volt as well. That's another thing, but pretty cool. Okay, I set it to 245 because that's what it is. See my plug? Made it all work. And this is the wire that I put in there that will also be used for the memory for the radio. And yeah, should be working. I'll see. I'll give another video in 15 minutes or so, or 5 minutes, and I'll show you the difference in time. All right. It was technically going on 346, so it's like a minute off, but now that it is 304, it's showing at 303 actually, because as soon as I set it to 245, my clock went to 246, so it's about a minute off. I can move it. I can cheat. It's either that I got to try to set it right on as soon as it turns like 305, and then set it like that. But it's working. Okay, moment of truth for this contraption. So basically 2 switches allows me to do this, but of course there's other switches coming from outside the car. One from the transmission, one coming from the relay, and for the starter relay, and one coming from the reverse. Well, that's the reverse lights. Okay. So basically, we put the key on. When you put the key on, these 2 guys light up. Very hard to tell on camera, but one of them is red. I don't know if you can see. This guy's red, this guy's yellow. So basically, it's telling you that you are either in park, which is going to be the red one, or neutral, which would be the yellow one. Kind of makes sense. Red, you're stopped, and yellow, it's like you could go, but the car can push. That being said, you're not distinguishing that from, so if you want to be in park, you go, sorry, I got to back off now. You make sure it's in park. So now you go down 1 gear, and boom, reverse comes on. That's your reverse switch. Go back in neutral, these 2 come on again. Obviously the same thing. If you don't want to be in neutral, okay, then you have to put it back all the way, because it'll go on and off right there. That blinked. Okay, so now we're in neutral. Now this is the drive range, okay? So this one is going to be on the whole time, okay? So the last 2 lights here. Come on. So green for go, ultimately. Sorry, I only have one hand. So green for go, okay? And as you see, it doesn't go off. The only difference is the lockup switch. The lockup switch is only going to come on when you're in overdrive, based on the transmission. So let's say you're driving around, you don't feel the lockup going on. Well, maybe I'm in 3rd gear, okay? So you go up a gear, and actually, no, that's neutral, because those come on. So I was in drive. Oh, look at that. That shouldn't happen. Now that I realize it, this is a problem. Oh, you know what the problem is? Is that I believe, I wasn't sure, okay, but that's the idea, basically. You're in overdrive and it comes on. And technically that could just stay like that, but then the lockup wouldn't work. So I'm not even sure if I actually have this. No, I don't even have it on. That's why this is basically grounding out somewhere, probably. But it's not looking like it. I wonder if I wired it wrong. That would be wonderful. So yeah, that's a little alarming, because it's not supposed to get the ground from that guy. And I'm not quite sure what I did, maybe. And I put everything green wires down there. So I'll have to figure that out. I sure hope I didn't put the wrong wire in the wrong thing. But in any case, it's the same idea. That's very weird that it's doing it. I'm not quite sure why that would come on. To me, it's just symbolizing that it's currently grounded for some reason, and I'll just have to check it out. But that's funny how I go. That's really crazy. It's actually kind of cool in a certain sense. I don't know what I did, but it's doing it when it's in overdrive, which is really wild. I'm not quite sure how that's working, other than it's coming from the switch in the tranny. Maybe I should just leave it like that, but I still don't think now I got to reevaluate what I did, but ultimately I only wanted this light to come on when the actual lockup goes on. So basically, lockup would go on, and the light would come on, and you feel the car bog down for the lockup. But it's so funny on the camera how you just can't see the colors really, and at least that's what it seems like. So I'm a little bit thrown back. Something could be grounding in the transmission switch, and the way I did it, because I did do it differently than what somebody recommended, because I'm like, they usually do it on the power to put the lockup switch in. I wanted to do it on the ground, because what I did is I grounded the vacuum switch and I put it in sequence with the pressure switch. So I find that weird that it's even doing that, but the pressure switch does end up leading to the other side of the tranny on the ground part of the tranny, and I guess that's maybe completing the circuit in a certain sense, but I sure as hell don't want it to turn on the lockup. So now I got something to think about. But it's actually kind of cool that because I didn't even think I could do that. I didn't even think I could make it come on just by putting it in overdrive. But you see, I have the switch here. This guy here is grounded to the bracket here. So I wanted the ground to come on in conjunction. I wanted two grounds to be on. So I might have something wired not really properly or something, or I can't do it the way I want to do it, which I don't understand. Or the way the light comes on is not what I expected. Like it might actually might turn to power when the lockup light goes on. It shouldn't be. It should be ground though. So that's something I got to work on, but that's why you test all these things. But I think that's mad cool. Oh, and I guess the other thing I didn't check, it's don't drive. What the hell? Okay, so I just realized these are on all the time as soon as you put the key on, and that's not what I wanted. I could swear it turned on before, but the blue one is doing something to make it do that. But as soon as I hit the brake, see, off the brake, on the brake, and that's what's supposed to happen. You're supposed to lose power to your torque converter clutch switch, but now it seems like I actually have to hook it through the power instead of ground, and the ground can solely just turn on the light, and I'm not quite sure why it's doing that, and it's lighting up this green one, which isn't even hooked up to its own power. It's like traveling through you understand? Power is going through here, and because this part is grounded, they're lighting both up. It's like, I don't know, it's like hooking them up in series. That's kind of weird. So I'll have to figure that out. So in the meantime, I am going to disconnect the blue one. Therefore, this guy will work properly. So that was definitely something I did not expect, but this is why we do the testing. But the main reason why I wanted to test everything, key on, the yellow and the gold are on. I'm sorry, the gold and the red are on. One click and the reverse light goes on. Where is it? right here. This guy is on. And now, what I didn't do is go to the back of the car to see if 20 feet of wiring actually worked. And boom! They both work. That is just awesomeness. For a car that did not have a reverse light, I made it work. So, just wanted to add that video in, but more work to do on this. At the very least, I'm thinking I can't share the power. The thing is, I set it up so that the bulb would not come on because it would not have power until you put it in drive. But like I said, it's weird how an electric circuit works. You have power hooked up to the tranny all the time. It's going to the solenoid in the tranny, and then the ground is coming from the other side. And that's the part that I was saying, okay, when this grounds, it'll turn on the light, and I'll supply the other end of the ground. But it doesn't quite work like that through the circuit. That's why, I guess that's why it's important to break off the the switch, the power side. So it's going through the brake switch, but I'm going to go through starts off with the brake switch, and then I'm going to have it go through the vacuum switch, and from the vacuum switch, I'm going to have it go down to the other switch, I think. Or that's just going to be ground. That one is just going to be ground. So I got to hook up a separate ground, which now I can leave the wire coming up there for that. But the wire that's going to the tranny, I'm going to have to do something with that, because it was coming. I had it coming down. I should have had it go to the manifold and then down to the tranny. Yeah. So that sucks, but it's not a huge deal, by any means. I'll figure it out. Just not on this shitty day with the misty rain and bingo bango. But it's looking really, really good. All right, so I realized the problem with the wiring for the overdrive piece. As you can tell, it's in drive right now. I didn't film this, but ultimately what I realized is the problem is that the signal that comes from here is a ground when it locks up. Otherwise, it passes through power. I want to explain it like like this, like the alternator light. When you put the key on, it's on right now, and then when you start it, it goes off. How does that work? Well, it's a power lead coming out of the is it a power lead? It's still hard to figure out. Basically, it's a ground coming out of the alternator, and this is hooked up to power all the time. So when you have the key on, it's ground, and then when you start it, the ground turns into positive, so two positives can't turn on a light. It's the same idea with this, but it's slightly different. I'm sorry for the light. It's like really bad, and that doesn't help. It's a lot of sun. Anyway, so I tested it. I jumped the solenoid. I got it to click, and this guy turns on when I put power to it all the time. So what ends up happening here is that you got power in here, and this turns on power, and then this one here will be power all the time. The problem is, and I might be able to rectify, I can't rectify it because no matter what, it'll mess with this switch then. So this has power all the time until the switch comes on, because these type of switches are both normally closed and normally open. So right now this is normally open. So because you want the power to turn on. Is it? Because now the light is on. Oh, because it's in gear. Yeah. Yeah, because if I had it in this one, the light will be on all the time until I go into the lower three gears. Okay, so that was the idea of stealing the power but I did it from this one instead. I could have done it from the other one to power these. Okay, because these turn on with the ground. Just like the lockup will turn on with the ground, but it becomes positive when the power from the torque converter switch is going through the solenoid. It's one of those electrical phenomenons, and that's why a lot of guys are using, there's a whole bunch of shit online that's really not necessary hooking up a relay to this. This is all like really low power stuff It's mind-boggling how people have complicated it, and there's a lot more information on a 700R versus a 204R. That being said, I have the reverse as power, so that one only comes on with power. This only comes on with power. And this one is going to have power all the time because two positives don't allow it to turn on. So I've already tested it. When I jump the solenoid, boom, it comes on. So that was my big problem. My big problem is I was joining it with this one, which didn't have power, but because it bled through this one, it received the ground to turn on, and hence it turned on this light. And I'm like, what's going on here? It was very weird, but it's so simple to fix. So I got to just hook it up to the original wiring here somehow, and, just take it from there. It's unfortunate that I can't really... the only thing I can think of is maybe if I had it... Because no matter what, if I end up hooking it up to the available slot here, this has power all the time, except for when you put it in reverse. When you have it in reverse, you have no power. So when it's in reverse, then I guess this light would come on then, So no matter what, it has to be to a constant source. It can't be, anytime it's without power, it'll turn on. So now here's the funny thing. Now that I'm thinking about it, Jesus Christ, the brake light has power all the time. So I'm worried. See, this guy here has power with the key on. So now I got to be cognizant of that. So if this has, I might have to hook it up to that radio circuit that has power all the time and is always working. Because what I mean is that the transmission has power all the time. So if the transmission has power all the time, the circuit in the tranny is working, until you hit the brake, Now, I'm not going to leave it on with the brakes on, but right now, I'm assuming this light now will turn on when I shut the key off. Boom. That's what happened. That's hilarious. Because now it searches for a ground. It searches the circuit for a ground. I don't know why it's even remotely doing that with the switch, but it's one of those weird things that have to have power all the time. Because like I said, it's a ground coming out of the alternator, and they're both grounds of power. So it's missing the power to one side. The problem is I have two circuits working one volt. So that's how it comes into play. Where this is more, it's the car and the alternator. Where this is the car and the transmission. And the transmission is to the brake switch, and the brake switch has to be on all the time. So that's fucking wild. So yeah, I got to hook this up to constant power. So I got to run a new wire now to basically either the brake light circuit, the same as the brake light circuit, or this other one that it actually comes off the light switch for the radio here. So I have this teed for the clock. So I will probably tee another one off for this and leave one for the radio, because that's the radio memory. That's what I wanted. That's what the Ford manual said, and it's a weird switch. That it's funny how it works. Is that when you shut the light off, that's when it gets power. But when you put it on, that's when it gets power. So if you test that with a test light, when you close it and open the lights, it loses power for a microsecond, But yeah, I just realized that wow, if I shut this off, the light's going to turn on. That's hilarious. So yeah, if I had known better, I mean, I guess I could technically still do it, but I've wrapped all these wires already, and it's not like, the wire is right there to steal power all the time, but that's mind-boggling. Mind-boggling. Where is it in my phone? Yeah. So, yeah, that's going to be it's a really cool thing, everything I'm doing, but it's just fucking unfortunate. Like, oh my god, like every time I touch something, it's like something else. So, but at least I figured it out without having to, redo all my wiring. I just have to add a wire now, and I was going to add a ground anyway because you see I got this taped here. I mean, technically, I can put a loop on one of these bolts, but I don't even feel like removing those bolts because sometimes they don't line up and then can't get in there. But other than that, I can do other things. I can get a bolt in there if I really wanted to. I mean, I can even I can utilize these holes maybe. I don't know. Yeah. So ground wire and another power lead just for this one light. That is hilarious. It's so funny how all this works out the way it does. But this is the way you get the lockup to shut off. And I've had experience with this where I had a diesel, so I had a low stall converter, and I don't know if it's going to happen with high gears like this car probably has, but if you don't have the brake light hooked up to the power to shut off the power when you hit the brake, then what happens is you could stall the engine. Now in this car you're not going to lose power steering because it's electric steering, but this is very like crazy how it feels. Like I've actually didn't hook up didn't hook it up to a brake light switch, and that's when I realized there was a problem in another car a long time ago. And I jammed on the brakes, the car stalled. I let go of the brakes, the car started up again. Because the lockup came out, it was actually or still engaged or something like that, and it actually started the engine. It was like a push start, like a clutch, like mind-boggling, But yeah, I just realized I have to contend with that now. But oh well. Sorry, this part came so long. I'm on the phone for 10 minutes now.